Hello, guys, and welcome back to League One predictions. It is the international break, but we have got 5 games that have survived the international break. I mean, we usually lose quite a few, and we usually get about 3 games left, but we've got 5 games to predict as of right now, unless there are any last-minute changes. We'll call this League One predictions 15.5 because I'm not sure if we can round this up to week 16 yet. Anyway, Ben, how are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, looking forward to this, although we didn't have a great week. Look, maybe the 2 extra games we had to do last week threw us a little bit, Matt, right? Excuses in early, please.
Oh, definitely. That's a very good excuse. Yeah, we were helpless. The scores from last time, let's give Ben the credit. He did win 5-4. Really not a lot in it. And it does mean overall, Ben is now 2 points in front. We've got 111 to 109. It is still fairly close. And with these 5 games, can I close that gap? I hope so. Ben, last week, I must say, really interesting results. Stockport lost 5-0 at home to Wycombe. And then they won 5-0 at home to Bolton. Can you make any sense out of that?
None at all. In the comments, please. Has that ever happened? Has your team ever lost? I mean, even give me 4-0 lose and then 4-0 win. That's insane. And Matt, we've got to say, don't bury the lead here. Wycombe Wanderers are top of League One. We expected, I think we said about 4 weeks ago, okay, well, that's Birmingham first for the rest of the season then. But what a run by Wycombe. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it really is incredible. They've moved 2 points clear of Birmingham City. Obviously, their goal difference went shooting up with that win over Stockport, and then they followed it up with a good 1-0 win at Wigan. They're keeping clean sheets. And, like you say, Birmingham City lost a bit of ground on them. Birmingham City drawing 1-1 last week with Northampton. Northampton, as we say, unbelievably hard to predict, managed to snatch that late draw. And then we also had a big result at the weekend, Ben. Wrexham beating Mansfield in a big battle of the playoff teams that came up from League Two last season as well. We had Barnsley winning the Yorkshire Derby. There were some really interesting results. And I think we could start to say it's taking some shape now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we joke about, spot the Birmingham non-win or drop points before it happened. And there are going to be games like these. I know the Birmingham fans were irritated by it's like a 96th minute Mitch Pinnock goal, wasn't it? Those games are going to pop up. And your friend of mine, Sam Parkin, was doing Barnsley Rotherham for Sky. He was very impressed with Barnsley as well. And I respect Sam's opinion very much. So I know maybe I've been a little bit undervaluing Barnsley. So maybe that might change this week.
Yeah, it certainly feels like with Barnsley, they were being a bit inconsistent, but they were fairly good. And now maybe they've worked things out. The form's starting to click and they're moving up the table. Can they move on into that top 2 now? Possibly, if they keep this good run of form coming. And they are playing today. They are one of the 10 teams playing today. So before we get into the predictions, guys, make sure to share your predictions down in the comments. There's just 5 games. We'll put the fixtures in the description, copy and paste. Make sure to drop a like. Let's go for 500 likes for the 5 games. Hit that thumbs up button. It takes 2 seconds and your support is massively appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to support us both. If you hit the subscribe button here, you will see the League One predictions every week. And make sure to head over to the first link in the description to subscribe to Benjamin Bloom, where you can find our Premier League check-in podcast and all sorts of brilliant championship content as well. Make sure to get involved. Let's start at Exeter City versus Lincoln City. 2 teams that have been sniffing around the playoff picture this season. It feels like Lincoln City have been the more consistent of the 2, but Exeter City, have the home advantage, and they just beat Charlton 1-0 at home. I'm going to let you go first. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking this is a bloody hard one to call to start with. I'm looking for some kind of guide here, and I can't separate these 2, Matt. The only thing I'm looking at here is I've got Lincoln's away form. They've only lost 1 away game this season. So maybe that suggests that they're going to be able to go there and get something. But as you very rightly point out, Lincoln are on Exeter are on a decent little run as well. I think they're 3-3, aren't they, in terms of their last 3 games? And a bit of a hodgepodge there, a 3-2, a 5-3, and then a 1-0 and shutting out Charlton. So I can't separate these 2. I know you like to throw up a 1-1 early in the show sometimes, Matt. So this is straight out of the Matt SB playbook, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Let's go Exeter 1, Lincoln 1. Sorry for being dull.
Yeah, I nearly went for that myself, but I am just edging the away team. I think you mentioned Lincoln City's really good away record this season. They did have that strange defeat at Crawley Town where they got hammered 3-0.
Crawley. Oh, yeah. So it's an outlier, yeah?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It just looks like a result that doesn't fit the trend. So I will go Exeter City 1, Lincoln City 2. I'm just going to edge them. I think they've both been great this season, and I'm all for seeing Exeter City in the playoff picture. But if you'd have asked me at the start of the season which one is more likely to be in there right at the end of the season, I might have gone with Lincoln City. They were up there last season. I was impressed with their numbers. They've been doing well this season. And if they can get the win this weekend with quite a few of the other teams not playing, they have the possibility of climbing to fourth and going level with third on goal difference, which would be fantastic. So I'm just going to edge Lincoln City. But I will say at the same time, with it being at Exeter, not totally sure about this one because Exeter have been good, and I will give them credit for that win against Charlton at the weekend. Ben, the next one is at Bloomfield Road. We've got Blackpool versus Northampton, and Blackpool's form has not been great. Obviously, there were circumstances we spoke about surrounding Steve Bruce. I think they then had a good result in the FA Cup, and we were like, okay, is this the turning point? The form in the league hasn't really improved yet. Northampton also down there in the table, but are capable of those moments away at Birmingham, away at Huddersfield. I suppose you could put this in a similar category. You know, they won't be considered favourites here, Northampton, but that unpredictability we've seen from them this season makes me think they might take something from this and possibly all 3 points. So I will continue with the Blackpool downward trend here. I'm going to go Blackpool 1, Northampton 2.
That's pretty bold from you, Matt. I like that one. I was just looking. It's very disruptive, isn't it? Both sides have got this, actually, where you play League, FA Cup, EFL Trophy, League, EFL Trophy, and then League. It's hard to get momentum. I mean, it's blooming hard for the likes of you and I. We're trying to find a pattern, and it's like, well, that's not the first team. That's a cup game. You know, do I class that as a trend? And it's not really. I mean, you're right. There is a definite downtrend when it comes to Blackpool. I'm less high on Northampton than you are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip you, Matt, and I'm going to give Blackpool the win. The Northampton sometimes rely on individuals. We said this a few years, Hoskins and Mitch Pinnock as well, who got the goal. So I'm going to back Blackpool, and I'm going to flip you. Let's go Blackpool 2, Northampton 1.
Interesting. I suppose Blackpool have got to get a result at some point just to turn that run of form around. And I agree with what you just said, actually. You know, with all the different competitions they're playing in, it is difficult to put your finger on a pattern of form. I tend to read less into the EFL trophy games, I think. But then again, I don't know. It really depends on each team's circumstances. I mean, some of them might think, well, this is our best chance at silverware, and they really go for it. But
and if you can get the fan base of a League One team across to Wembley, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? So, but
yeah,
a lot of fans do just hate it, don't they?
Exactly. Until the latter stages, you're probably not first, especially when it's been group stages for the last few years. Okay, the next one, Ben. Let's go to the Memorial Stadium. Bristol Rovers take on Crawley Town. I'm going to let you go first with this one. Bristol Rovers last week got a 1-1 draw against Lincoln City. Crawley got a 2-2 draw with Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, Crawley are in quite good form, actually. And it's since the kind of... You know, they had the downturn, didn't they, when Scott Lindsay went off to MK, and we were dreadfully worried. But you already mentioned that 3-0 against Lincoln, which was a bit of a surprise. And, okay, they would have wanted to beat Burton, but it was key that they didn't lose to Burton, as I think we both predicted that they were going to. And a 2-2 against Huddersfield is excellent, isn't it? They're also in the EFL Trophy tonight, as we're recording the space-time continuum. But Bristol Rovers have got home advantage, Matt. Oh, it's a difficult one to call. I don't want to go down the middle again, but I'm going to. And it was a Desmond for Crawley last time out, so I'll take the Desmond again. Bristol Rovers 2, Crawley 2.
Okay, I like that. A 2-2 draw. So that would be 3 draws in a row for Crawley Town, wouldn't it? I suppose they could try and draw themselves to safety, couldn't they? It's better than the form they had before. They were certainly losing quite a lot of games. So, yeah, maybe a turning point for Crawley. I think I'm going to go with Bristol Rovers here. I just think, if Bristol Rovers don't win these kind of games, and that's no disrespect to Crawley, I just think if they don't win or even lose, they're a team that's not completely out of the picture of the bottom 4 going upwards, and they could get pulled in by a Crawley Town. So they'll want to put some distance between them and Crawley, and maybe even try and move up into the playoff picture at some point. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Gas here. Like you said earlier, I think the home advantage could be key here. If it was at Crawley, I wouldn't be so sure, but I'm going to go bold and go 2 clear goals for Bristol Rovers. Ben, this next one's really interesting. You've got Cambridge United versus Barnsley. Cambridge United were in some great form, and then they lost 6-1 to Peterborough United. I don't know.
In a big local derby, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I tried to go for the bonus point in that game and said 4-2. I know it wasn't right, but I don't know. I just thought maybe with it being a derby, there'd be quite a few goals, but obviously there was more for Peterborough than for Cambridge. Really shocking, actually, because Cambridge's recent run had been built on being quite good defensively.
Chiefs, yeah.
And then we spoke about Barnsley at the start of this video, Ben. They're putting results together. They're moving up the table. So Barnsley should come into this as favourites. I'm up first here. Now, this is difficult. Do Cambridge go back to being quite good defensively, or as last week exposed them and there's going to be some more goals they could see this week? I'm really not sure about this one, Ben. I really could go in any direction, but I will go Cambridge 0, Barnsley 1.
And that is a scribble. I was going with the logic that last week would not expose Cambridge defensively, that they would double down, and it would be the whole week would be Gary Monk saying, look, risk averse, don't make the mistakes you made last week. It got away for. I know Peterborough, they can do that every now and then, kind of banging a load of goals and hit 6. So, yeah, I was going to take a narrow Barnsley win. I'm going to still do that, but obviously we are gentlemen here, and he who goes first gets their scoreline. So I'm going to give both sides another goal, even though Cambridge hasn't been both teams to score in their run. Let's go Cambridge 1, and thank you, Sam, for the tip-off. Barnsley 2.
There you go. Cambridge 1, Barnsley 2. Both just edging the away team. Yeah, do share your thoughts on that one. Like I say, Barnsley with the opportunity to move up into the top 4 and possibly level on points with 3rd place. And speaking of 3rd place, Ben, it's Wrexham, and they go away to Stockport County. We've coupled these two together quite a lot this season. They both came up as the top 2 last season. They both come up from the National League a couple of years ago. And they're both doing well this season. It did feel like Stockport's form tailed off a bit. And obviously last week, I don't know what to make of those results, winning 5-0, losing 5-0. Wrexham did win against Mansfield 1-0. Maybe a surprise, that result, considering Wrexham are usually, covered in loads of goals. I don't know with this one, Ben. I really think this could be a 0-0 draw, or it could also be a 5-goal bonus point sort of game. I quite like Stockport for clean sheets, but I don't know. You're up first here, Ben.
Yeah, and maybe we should just say for any Wycombe fans watching, Matt and I are scratching our heads trying to figure out how Stockport can go 5-0 one way and 5-0 the other. We should say maybe it's just because Wycombe are really damn good at the moment, but it does feel a bit extreme, doesn't it? I'm on the low scorer here, Matt, so I'm not seeing the another crazy game. I think I'm under 1.5 as well. So I think it's a 1-0 win either way, or a 0-0. But I'm a bit draw heavy today. I'm going to back Wrexham. Stockport 0, Wrexham 1. I don't feel too sure about that. So Stockport and Wrexham fans, get in the comments with your own predictions and prove me wrong. But how can you predict a team that's gone 5-0 one way and then 5-0 the other way?
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas Wrexham have been a bit more consistent, I suppose, lately compared to Stockport. Wrexham have been, looking at their form,
Other than the cup defeat, Matt, they're not losing, are they?
5 unbeaten. I think we've both said before, though, we prefer Wrexham maybe at the racecourse.
I do,
So I back Wrexham a lot. And I know we've got a lot of Wrexham fans watching this, and I apologise for what I'm about to do, but I'm going to go against them this week. And I don't think either of us have played a bonus point yet. So let's just do it to try and sneak one in there this week. I know there's only 5 games. Stockport 3, Wrexham 2. Let's go for it. It has the potential to be an absolute classic, and also has that potential
you need an early goal for that one, Matt, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's 0-0 at half-time, I won't be too impressed. But I'll go for it. Stockport have shown they can score and concede in those last 2 games. Wrexham, I definitely think, will be in the game. But I think Stockport did all right against them at home last season in League Two, if memory serves me right. So I will edge them this week, and that certainly makes things more interesting at the top if Stockport can move closer to Wrexham. So there you go. I apologise, Wrexham.
Stockport 5, Wrexham 0 in League Two last season.
Oh, there you go.
Jesus Christ. I didn't realise that.
They love a 5-0, don't they?
Evidently, yeah.
But I won't go for a 5-0, but I will go for 5 goals. And there you go. Stockport 3, Wrexham 2 is my prediction. Ben, that rounds up the 5 games we are predicting. A final thing to touch on then. I've just got the League One table in front of me here. We're about a third of the way into the League One season. Obviously, some teams have played more games than others. Are you getting a good reading on things yet? I know it's early, but I suppose we're probably still sticking with Birmingham City to go all the way. What are you thinking for second place? Because I think I asked you during the last international break, and it was a toss-up between, will Wrexham get caught by Huddersfield or something like that? And then you see Wycombe climbing on in there. I mean, can they sustain that?
Well, it doesn't matter if they can sustain it, Matt. I always say if you win 7, let's say 6. If you win 6 games back-to-back at any point during any league season, that just catapults you up the table for weeks on end. If you win 7 or 8, and 8 is normally the magic number, teams that win 8 games in a row generally end up getting promoted. Look back and reverse engineer that experiment and look at long winning streaks. And you look at the 8s, there's very few 9s and 10s. Those teams often end up getting promoted. So they have to be in the conversation. It's so easy with hindsight, Matt. I'm looking at the table and I'm like, oh, well, that's obvious, isn't it? We're expecting Wrexham to be there, and Barnsley are a big club at this level. Stockport maybe a bit higher than I thought. Lincoln, you expected to be around. But then we've got to be true to our pre-seasons. We both had, I think, Huddersfield and Bolton up nice and high, and they're not quite with it just yet. I mean, when you look at the bottom and you've got Shrewsbury, Burton, Cambridge, Crawley, etc., that's not far from probably what we had in pre-season. But looking at the top, I mean, the Wycombe fans will probably be saying, second place, Matt, excuse me, who's top at the moment? So, you know, if they can really crack out a hell of a winning streak, and like I say, then, you know, you're never going to sustain win, are you? Nobody ever does. It's Reading 2006 all over again. So it's just a basic level of consistency, and they're right in the conversation. And I've got Sam's words about Barnsley, although he did back them as a playoff team, not necessarily a top 2 team. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it'd be typical if Barnsley and Bolton play each other in the League One playoffs again, because they have done for the last 2 seasons. With Wycombe, I just need to point out, those first 2 games of the season, they lost 3-2 to Wrexham and 3-2 to Birmingham. So in their last 12 games, they've won 10 and drawn 2. No losses, which is absolutely incredible. And no disrespect to Wycombe when I say what I'm about to say here, but even if this is the peak of their form and the form doesn't reach this standard for the rest of the season, they've still put themselves in a massively good stead to secure a playoff place. I think they'd have to be quite bad now to not be in the top 6. It depends on the tide.
Mate, like 1.6, 1.7 points per game, and they're in the playoffs now. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Perform like a 10th place team from now on in, you probably still get 6th place. So,
amen.
Yeah, and that's, like I say, no offence to Wycombe. I'm just saying, if the form doesn't keep at the same standard, they've still got a good chance of making.
And we know what happens when Wycombe get in the playoffs, don't we? They could play offside, yeah.
We'll welcome them back to the Championship again. Ben, we'll wrap it up there for League One this week. Like I said, there's only 5 games, which is more than usual during an international break. Of course, we will be back with League One predictions next week, guys, for a full set. And we've got quite a busy schedule coming up in December. Me and Ben are going to have to scratch our heads and work out how we're going to do that.
Stop it.
A massive thank you to Ben, by the way, guys. He's always consistently here. We're doing great work together. We really, really enjoy it. But please, I implore you, make sure during this international break you have subscribed to Benjamin Bloom. Get involved. Get over there. If you haven't already, I'm sure most of you have. And what can they find, Ben?
Well, lots of content, and they can find Mr. Matt SB as well, because we're about to record the Premier League check-in podcast. And don't worry, we're not talking about stupid £80 million players every week. We do tend to focus on the teams that we've covered in the EFL. So, yeah, really enjoying doing those shows and collaborating with Matt as we both try and move forward in this peculiar new media YouTube world that we've somehow ended up in by weird happenstance. But there you go. Really enjoying it, Matt.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Like I say, get involved, guys. Make sure you've dropped a like on this video, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Peace out.